Alright, so I'm with J-Bone doing a ride along. There's J-Bone. And what are we doing? We're going to Caloundra. We're going to a op shop to do some collecting. Hopefully I'll get a stuffed toy or something. And what's the other thing we're doing?
We're going to Fran's Small Goods, where they have European products.
Meat.
Meat. We all love a bit of meat.
Yeah. Feed the man meat.
Yeah. But Richard and I are both vegans, by the
do
way.
you remember that episode of The Simpsons where they had a barbecue and Lisa had gone vegan, and then they were dancing around the room going, "You don't make friends with salad. You don't make friends with salad." Yeah, so I did a couple of ride-alongs with Dad to Caboolture yesterday. It was pretty fun. I've tried uploading 4. I just noticed the one where you and I drove to Mullaney, that one's uploaded. You know how we drove up to Mullaney to sample the Cocoa Pop ice cream? Mm-hmm. We got the one where we follow the Porsche all the way back, the new electric Porsche from Mullaney back to Beer, that hasn't uploaded yet. They're taking their time, these uploads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How long have you lived on the coast, Chase?
Going on 4 years now.
Yeah, right. Do you like the heat and the humidity?
Oh, look, I don't, but I'm getting used to it. As long as there's air conditioning, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I like the weather. Like, winter is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. This autumn weather's going all right, actually.
Yeah, it's not...
It's cooled down a bit, but it's still warm, you know?
Yeah, and some nights I still sneak the air conditioning on because it just makes it easier. I don't know, I think I'm just... I like the cooler weather.
Yeah.
But, you can't beat it when the sun's out, it's 26 degrees, it's only, 20 past 9, 26 degrees, so I'll probably get to 30 today, I would imagine.
As long as the humidity stays away, it's not too bad, but I prefer it when it stays at 25 or something.
Yeah. Well, it's destined to be 28 today, so we'll see how we go with that.
Everyone down south, that's already cold down in Canberra, Melbourne and all that.
Yes. Yeah, well, I heard it's getting down to 5 and 6 degrees down south now.
When I lived in Canberra, it's Anzac Day. So the Anzac Day is cold, and Canberra's cold every day after that. Like, autumn can be sort of mixed and have your nice warm sunny days down there and that too.
Yep.
But as soon as Anzac Day happens, it's Anzac Day every year. You can count on it.
Yeah, but it's sometimes in winter we have days that are 30.
Oh no, up here, yeah.
So work that out, and then it's 10 the next day. So, but look, not a cloud in the sky today.
Yeah, you're right. I can't see a cloud anywhere. Film it. See, people, no clouds. And you get these days up here, don't you, where there's no clouds?
Yeah. Winter's just a great time up here. You could wear shorts nearly all year.
I do.
Yeah.
But I wore shorts all year in Canberra as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. You're the rare breed.
But I know what you mean. It's like most people could wear shorts around up here.
Yeah, well, look, you can get away with it up here with your shorts and maybe a singlet, and your best going out thongs. Oh yeah.
What I really hate. I love wearing thongs, but the second you wear thongs, you're immediately classed as a bogan or poor or whatever, and I just wear them anyway. Who cares? But you think like when I grew up in the 80s and 90s and that, especially the 80s, in Canberra, you could go actually to the shopping malls, and there'd be more than one guy walking around with shorts, bare feet, no shirt, nothing else. And it wasn't a thing there, especially like at your local Woolworths. If you woke up in Canberra in the morning, when people went to get their eggs, bread, milk and all that, all the women used to be in their dressing gowns and slippers and all that, and blokes would just be in a pair of shorts with no shirt or shoes. And back then it was all normal, and blokes weren't, now if you see somebody without a shirt on and no shoes at a shop, he's unusual. And usually they're peacocking and sticking their chest out and looking for trouble, like wanting to shoulder you in the mall and all that. But back then it was a relaxed thing. It wasn't only the sort of the bogans and tough guys and whatever. It's just funny that what I think I saw happen was the show Neighbours with Kylie, and that got really, really popular. And of course those shows, they've got product placement and they're advertising stuff. So they used to have, their clothes would be done by, I don't know which company. It could be jeans by Just Jeans, shirts by these guys or whatever. So on those shows, whether they were lounging around in the house or whatever, they weren't in shirt, on Neighbours, they're not walking around with shorts and no shirt and all that. They would have full fashion. Get what I mean? That like, I can remember Nick Hammond, he was a character in the 80s, and then Guy Pearce, I can't remember, he was Steve or something. Those guys were always wearing fashion label stuff. I mean, not they weren't wearing Gucci and all that, but they were wearing Just Jeans and stock jeans and all the sort of fashiony mall clothes and everything, and it presented this unnatural, sterile, because it's a sterile set, but what Australians were like back then was we wore, like, especially, like I said, I don't know about the rest of Australia because I grew up in Canberra. Being Canberra, and that's the capital of Australia, where everyone's really educated, and the bloke next door, you know what was interesting about Canberra? You just didn't know who was living next door to you. You'd just be living in a normal suburb, and the bloke next door would be the boss of immigration or whatever. And then you'd go to yourself, I need to know something about immigration. I'll just walk next door and knock on the door and talk to Harry, And they sort of captured that on The Simpsons. Remember they had the Prime Minister was just out, they sort of, when The Simpsons did Australia, they sort of showed how informal Canberra is and all that sort of thing. And it really is. So that's, because like I said, I knew heaps of people that were bosses of departments and all that stuff, but they'd just be down at the Oval with no, just in a pair of athletic shorts and nothing else on, just playing touch and all that. But now, Canberra people dress up all the time, and I think if I turned up even at 6 a.m. at the Woolies, even down in the far south of Canberra, which is known as the Bogan or the country end, and that there's still horse paddocks down there and all that. People ride horses around, and that bit like here or Caboolture, how beer was country. You still see people riding horses around Beera and stuff. They don't have a silky or a carriage. No one's like, but they do ride horses because they've got horses in paddocks here and cows and farms everywhere. And that's where we lived in Canberra was like. And but if I went down there at 6 a.m. and turned up with just a pair of shorts on and no shoes, they might refuse me service or entry. We classed ourselves up, and then we had that cultural cringe, the Aussie accent. We don't like it anymore. Cultural cringe, and we don't like guys being really colloquial and informal and all that. So that's a change in Australia that I didn't like. I liked that you could, you know what I mean, that life was easy and natural and that back then. But it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't everybody wanting to fight each other that had no shirt on. Now that sort of person, you can count on it. If a guy turns up at a shop and he's got no shirt on, he's there to behave antisocially and whatever. It's a different thing. But I'll tell you what's another big change in our lifetime. Do you remember being at the supermarket and everywhere else and everyone's smoking? Yeah. But smoking, I was a smoker when I was a teenager, and back then a packet of Peter Jackson 15s, right, when I was 16, I took up smoking because I was an idiot, or risk-taking behaviour, whatever. Though a packet of 15 Peter Jacksons was something like 80 cents. Within a couple of years, like by the time I was in year 12, so within a few years, they'd gone up to $5, and the Australian government started taxing and all that. But cigarettes were dirt cheap, and really, like, everybody smoked. All the teenagers in Canberra smoked, all the old people, everyone smoked, right? And but you'd smoke anywhere. The car, the mall, the bus. Remember on interstate coaches, there was smoking and non-smoking sections. There was ashtrays. Yeah. Does this car even have an ashtray?
No.
Yeah, remember that though? Every car had an ashtray and a lighter.
Yeah.
And everyone would be smoking in the car. Yeah. But I can remember that. It was like,
On
In
TV, they smoked on TV.
Yeah, did they?
Yeah.
In TV shows? Oh, yeah, like Homicide and all those shows.
Well, even on like the Don Lane show.
Oh, right, as he was hosting, he
As
used to smoke.
He was smoking. All the guests used to come out smoking.
Really?
Yeah. And they'd have a guest singer.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'd be smoking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it wasn't a big thing back then. You know, you could walk into a shop with a cigarette in your mouth. You know?
Oh, well, I used to.
Yeah.
I'd go down to the newsagent or anywhere, and I'd just walk in, cigarette hanging out of mouth, no shoes, no shirt, and I'll tell you what else. Look, I don't want to go into this too much because it'll get us kicked off YouTube. But back then, you'd walk in, no shoes, no shirt, and the girl walking by the counter, like in Canberra especially, it was very colloquial. Everyone kind of knew everyone because, you know, there's lots of other high schools, but you knew all the girls. You just ask them out, and they'd say, "Yeah, I'll see you after work." Things like that. You can't ask chicks out. Even that term. I flash back to the 80s when we used to call them chicks, and they thought it was funny that we call them chicks. Now, if you call a girl a chick, she's really offended. I'm not a small bird or whatever, you know. But yeah, you could ask them out. I used to do it all the time. What are you doing after work? I want to go to the movies with you. All right, I'll see you. I finish up work. I'll go home, have dinner, and, you know, then we'll go. But yeah, you can't walk in and ask a girl out working behind a counter now. And this had nothing to do with my age. It was to do with the time. It's not just because I was 18 and they were teenagers too. It's like a teenage bloke can't do it now. He'd get in trouble. Yeah, so life is so different now. You know what it is? We're really, I would say, this is my opinion, we're over-regulated. Because even when you think of smoking, yeah, it's people supposedly get cancer, and they say they've done serious testing about it when people smoke near them. But realistically, back then it was like you had the choice to smoke or not, and you could smoke anywhere you wanted to. We had that freedom of choice, right? We don't have that now, do we? It's like that decision's been taken away from us. It's illegal everywhere. And I think that one of the blokes that's made millions and millions here in Australia, he's a guy that calls himself the Candyman, and he lives in the Candyman mansion down on the Gold Coast. His parents own, I think the big tobacco chain in Australia is actually called Free Choice Tobacco.
I think it's one of them. I think.
Yeah, and they talk about how it's free. You know, you're free to, and at his house parties he hands out. Oh, that's. You know what? Remember they used to walk around handing out free cigarettes and that too? Like if you went to a bar or if you went to the mall, they'd have the Winfield girls or whatever, and they'd walk around and say, "Would you like a cigarette?"
Oh yeah, I remember.
You know, to get you addicted to the cigarettes. I got a story about my grandfather actually. He was a smoker, and back, you know, I think we're talking about the 50s or the 60s or something. And the guy came out to the fire station where Max, my grandfather, was the fire chief or whatever. And the bloke's loading the tobacco machine, and the cigarettes had gone up another 20 cents or 40 cents or something like that. And Max said, "Oh my God, you blokes are just charging, you know, you can't expect us to keep paying these prices for cigarettes." And this guy turned and said, "We could charge whatever we want, all you bloody dummy smokers. We own you. We own your souls," or something like that. It was some joke. And my grandfather got really angry and said, "Well, you don't own me, pal." You know, he didn't like that whole premise that he was that arrogant. And it's like, you're an addict. You'll pay anything, you know. And that day he never smoked again. He was that dirty with the tobacco machine dude. But do you remember that? There were tobacco machines everywhere.
Yeah.
Just everywhere. In shops. You know it was another big change? Back when we were kids, I don't know about anywhere else, I'm talking Canberra, the Woden Plaza it was called. I reckon every couple of hundred, well, maybe every 100 metres, there was a water fountain in the mall.
Yeah.
And they were often refrigerated water bubblers. But once they bottled the water and started selling that, they disappeared. But I think they're starting to make a bit of a reappearance again, aren't they? And don't they talk about that all the time? Now people aren't drinking enough water, and now they won't. What's that? How's that all work, J-Bone?
Oh, look, I don't know. I think it was a cost-saving thing stop putting in, and also people are vandalising the water bubblers or fountains. And I suppose it all comes down to cost. I think people are drinking more than enough water now because there's that many variants of water now. I think people are drinking more than enough.
They have all these water fountains around the university and that, like they have the and around the, like down in Canberra on all the ovals,
Yeah.
there's these water bottle filling stations.
Yeah, well, it's probably changed to that now.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know. But there's a lot more soft drinks now.